A lot of men say that they're out here fighting for equality.
But we've made the decision to fight for total equality in every way.
Hey babe, just checking in, seeing how that deck's coming. Well, it's great that women occupy 65% of PR jobs. We still live in a world where only 14% of Alaska crab fishermen are women.
And 10% of roadkill removal specialists. Women are perfectly capable of things other than marketing, and they have every right to be down there mining coal with the boys.
50% of coal miners should be women minimum.
It starts at home, whether it's mowing the lawn or building furniture.
We've both been doing our part.
She actually put me on an allowance, which is pretty sweet.
I've never paid for a meal ever. You want to play Call of Duty tomorrow?
My schedule's wide open. We can do whatever.
Some fake male feminists like to celebrate the fact that women occupy the majority of life coaching positions, while there's still only 3% of brick masons.
Still a lot of work to be done.
I encourage any man who cares to enroll his wife in a brick mason apprenticeship. Don't let her quit her other job, though. She can do it on the weekends. I promise you she can handle it. She's stronger than you think. I think you're going to probably have to pay that one. You know I quit my job. Babe, I support you in both of your careers.
Some people think it's weird that I stay at home with the dogs while she's working at a steel mill because they're afraid of a working woman.
Newsflash, women are going to be in the workplace.
Especially this woman, because I've racked up quite a bit of debt. And don't get me started on the fact that 89% of cell phone tower climbers are men.
We offer subsidies for women in entertainment, but when it comes to climbing a cell phone tower, suddenly they're on their own.
Here's a list of grants for female filmmakers. Now here's a list of grants for female oil rig workers.
Women can and should be rig pigs, especially the butch ones. But hey, maybe that's just me who cares. Only 24% of morticians are women, but I guess I'm the crazy one for thinking women are perfectly capable of morticianing.
And a mere 3% of plumbers. That's what happens when our children see Mario and Luigi instead of Marjorie and Louise.
My ex-girlfriend was discouraged from plumbing, and because of that, she had to rely on me to pay for meals at restaurants. I stand for that no longer. Could do brunch first.
No, let's do brunch on Tuesday. Spread it out a bit. I want the patriarchy dead, and me dead asleep, while my partner is shoveling snow in the middle of December.
My wife's texting me. She says we need to talk.
Yeah, she probably wants to talk about the fact that 90% of whale snot collectors are still men.
Or 94% of porta potty cleaners.
What message does this send to our daughters?
I've never killed a bug ever. That's something that your girlfriend is perfectly capable of, despite what propaganda will tell you.
It only comes bi-weekly, so sometimes I gotta get her to top it up. Are you willing to step up, or are you too entrenched in gender norms?
Total equality in every way. A lot of men.
You guys ready to watch a debate about feminism? I am. Welcome back to Far From Eden. I almost forgot to roll the intro. I was so excited to watch this with you guys. Pearl did this a little while back, but her debate with this lady is a physician. We've watched her TikToks before. She's very pro healthcare for women. But, Pearl did a great job of laying it down. And I thought that whole equality deal that we just watched, perfect for this segment of the debate coming up. And without further ado, let's get right into watching this.
Do you think society discriminates more against men or women, or do you think it's equal?
I think that they discriminate more against women, but that's not to say that men aren't discriminated against in some aspects.
Okay, how are women more discriminated against?
As I've said before, in my own personal experience and statistically.
Other than, can we do something other than just people say mean words to me? Because men, by the time they're 22, somebody said a mean word to them. Usually it's a woman. So anything other than somebody said something I don't like.
Abortion bans. Can you name a law that controls what men can do and access healthcare and the healthcare that men can access? Mm-hmm. Is there any laws that control men's healthcare access?
Well, if you want to talk about men's body, men are required to go into selective service. So if
now we all know that one. We all know that argument. But men's bodies, well, when they're itty bitty babies, there's some, mutilation that happens. And they have no say about that, do they? Nobody talks about that. What about that? Healthcare. So there's that. And it's not more sanitary and it's not for health reasons. It's barbaric. And nothing like that gets done to little baby girls. But also selective service, which Pearl makes a great argument for. Or not for, but, uses it against this lady's sad argument.
There is a wartime they are required to be drafted.
Yeah, and I think that the draft should be abolished.
So you asked for a law. There's a law. There's a way that women's bodies aren't protected. There's a way men's bodies aren't protected.
No, so it was actually, my question was different. My question was, can you name a law that restricts men's access to healthcare?
That restricts men's access to healthcare? No, not off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
when they're babies, they have no say.
That's one discriminatory
How are women
practice.
restricted access to healthcare? You can drive to another state and get an abortion.
Yeah, well, then that's also not taking into account like socioeconomic factors, right? Because not every person has the ability or the funds or the time to be able to just cross state lines to gain access.
You can get it in the mail. You can get those pills in the mail. Sadly, if you're in a state that doesn't allow it, you can get those evil pills in the mail.
Shouldn't have different healthcare access in different states. Your geographical location should not determine your access to a human right.
Okay. Well, again,
a human
luckily
right
for women, we have access to birth control, abstinence, and even you can even track your cycle and not get pregnant. So I think there's plenty of options beforehand that it really isn't an excuse if you have an unplanned pregnancy.
So actually about 50% of unplanned pregnancies used protection. And so that's just an incorrect statement.
Then you should learn to use it better. And the other thing is after the kid's born, you could argue that it's an equally irresponsible move when men and women have unprotected sex or there's some problem with the birth control. Fine, equally irresponsible. But after the woman has more control, she has the right to she's the only one who gets to decide if she takes a plan B. She's the only one that gets to decide to put them on child support or alimony if they're married.
She's the only one that gets to decide if it's for the baby. Oh my God, it is heartbreaking when the man does not want that done to his baby and he has no control over it. That's heartbreaking and nobody talks about that.
Men don't have a right to their wallets after the kid is born.
Right.
Yeah. So pregnancy involves your body and your internal organs, and that is worth more than any money.
This argument that this feminist lady is about to make is insane. It's absolutely insane that she thinks this way. And this is a big reason why women today do not want to have children. Because they think it is such a hardship. Such a hardship. And it's because of the way this lady is about to describe it.
Yeah, but that's 9 months, a year. What about the rest of the time? What about 18 years after?
Right. And so then there's like 2 years after that you're breastfeeding. And then there's the unequal division of childcare and domestic labor. So it's so much more than 9 months. But to go back, we cannot minimize that 9 months. Having your body be not your own for 9 months is 9 months too long.
Yeah, but there are men dying when they go and do their jobs. And
they can get a different job.
Complaining about it.
They can get a different job.
No, because men understand that somebody has to do it.
Yeah, they don't have to do it.
They understand. Well, that's why it's admirable that they do it anyway.
I would say to her, well, who's going to do it then? They don't have to do it. Who's going to do it? The fairies? The magic elves? No concept of how society runs and how it continues to run and how all of us should sacrifice something and that life is not meant to have zero hardships. This is fairy tale land. Well, fantasy land.
And they don't complain. And that's what I keep going back to is what feminists tend to want is they want all of the credit and they want to over exaggerate their problems.
So I would actually like to go back to the comparison you made of pregnancy and men going to work. Do you think those two things are the same?
I think that a man going to a dangerous job is far worse than a woman being pregnant.
And do you think that the majority of
far more dangerous, I'll say. That's more accurate. Better and good is like it's subjective, right?
Yeah. And as I've said before, I think that we should have better safety protocols and we should improve the safety of all workers. So I think that should be addressed. But also the majority of men,
but it isn't, right? Like,
right? But are you arguing for it to be?
Here's the difference. Okay, so feminists have a tendency to think that if we complain, things will just happen. And I'm more realistic, where I know that just because we say, oh, it should be better, well, it's not.
So,
and men understand that because they have had to deal with that reality from a young age.
You recognize that the only reason you have a microphone and you have a show is because feminists complained because we wanted a voice.
The rest of that should have been because men invented it. They really believe that us complaining is how we achieve something or gain power. They have no concept of where power comes from or force doctrine. That we just annoyed them into it. That's not real power. We can't enforce it. But nice try.
That's
because
not true.
It actually is.
It's not true. There's writers, there's female writers in the 1800s, 1700s.
And they had to write under male pseudonyms.
It's not true.
It is true.
It's not true.
Well, you can say it's not true, but it's history and it's statistics.
That's not true.
It is. We used
there
to
were
not
women
have
in
a
power.
voice.
We had Cleopatra. We had women in power throughout all of history. There are examples of them.
When were
the first female property owner was in the 1600s in the United States.
When were women allowed to have their own bank accounts?
Women were allowed to have their own bank accounts in what does that have to do with writing? You're changing the topic.
No, I'm not.
You're changing the topic because I'm right. They were allowed to write. They were.
You're the one who brought up female writers.
But okay,
that wasn't the question.
Go ahead. So sometime in the 1900s, I can't remember the year.
Yeah, it was like in the 1970s
is
when women were allowed to have bank accounts. So when we're talking about women,
what's happened since we got bank accounts? we own
80%.
80% of the world's debt. There's a reason people did things the way they did.
You don't think that women should be able to have their own bank accounts?
I don't think they shouldn't have bank accounts. I think everyone should have the right, and they do. But there's a reason. I think when we look at the past, we have to look at the reason that people did things. And one of the reasons is women are very irresponsible with money. They own 80% of the world's debt, even though they make less money than men.
So did you know that the majority of household finances are regulated and controlled by women?
Yeah, I knew that. We make 80% of consumer buying decisions.
Yeah.
So that's what I said. They spend.
And
that's what I said. They spend money.
Because
they spend money they don't have.
We do have the money.
Not anymore. I mean, the average woman out of college has.
If we had the money, we wouldn't be in debt. You don't understand. Just because you can spend it doesn't mean you have it. She doesn't understand that she's not making sense. She doesn't understand that she's not dealing in reality.
$30,000 worth. How much debt do you have? You have to have six figures coming out of med school.
I do have 6 figures of debt.
Exactly.
And the student debt. Because
the thing is, in your profession, I mean, on average, women leave the medical profession when they have a kid or within 5 years. So odds are you won't pay it off. And I'm not saying you personally, I hope you do, right? I'm not wishing it one way or another, but statistically, women make their debt someone else's problem.
Men do the same thing.
No, they don't. So they looked at women paying off their debt and men paying off their college debt, and men have been making payments towards it the last 5 years and women haven't.
So it's funny because you just mentioned how women will leave their careers because they have to take care of children. And that probably plays a large role into why they're not able to pay back their student debt compared to men who continue to be a part of the workforce even after they have children.
She put it into us being victims again. Oh, we have to go and raise our children. So it's not our fault that we can't pay for this debt that we incurred while we were getting a degree that we're now not going to use. But that's not our fault because we had to. Men get to continue to work and get to pay their debts. It's all in that framework. She cannot break out of that framework.
Do you see how those two things might be correlated?
No, because women aren't having kids anymore. That would have been the case, maybe the case before, but now they're not really having children.
We are still having children. That's an incorrect statement.
On average, it's like 1.5 now. So, I mean, you have one kid, you can put it in daycare, you can still work.
You can put it in daycare.
Sorry, his or her.
Yeah. See, and this is the problem, is like when we see people as commodities instead of actual people, like that's where we run into this thing of like, I don't care how you feel, you make stupid decisions, instead of taking a nuanced perspective and the complexity of the human experience and recognizing that there are so many things that contribute into these cherry-picked statistics.
Well, you think that the world owes you understanding, and it doesn't.
I think that it does. I think that we owe everybody understanding. I think that in order for me, so you know what? I think that this is something we need to clarify.
Yeah, go ahead.
I partake in these conversations because I want a better world. I develop my opinions based on how I think, or based on what I think is going to improve the human condition and improve people's quality of life. Why do you take part in these conversations?
I like to report on what's going on.
Reality. Pearl deals in reality. This other woman does not. She does what a lot of women do, what a lot of feminists do, and ones that don't claim to be feminist, covert ones. They kind of act like they want to run the world as if it were a kindergarten class. You know, everybody gets a cookie, everybody gets a carton of juice. Let's all go here, get along, be nice, share. And that's great for a kindergarten class, but it doesn't work in society. This whole idea of utopia and, well, if the men are doing these hard and dangerous jobs, here are the solutions. They can do something else. Let someone else do that. Who else? Because the women are doing it, so who else? Or, well, let's just make those jobs safe. Let's just change those jobs. You can't just make some jobs safe. You can make them safer, but you can climb on top. Roofing. That is a very dangerous job. How are you going to change that? I mean, this is just not dealing in reality. And isn't it interesting that you can have all that schooling and be an MD? And that's supposed to be science and facts, but you're in this like Lulu land. And Pearl's just straight facts, just reality. And I think that's something that women gain from looking through a man's eyes. Because you do see reality, because he's faced with it from the very beginning. Nobody's careful with men's feelings. Men deal in reality from the time they are boys. And we are sheltered from it. We just are. That is a holdover from, days gone by where it was kind of women on a pedestal and, protect them from all the bad things of the world. Well, we're here and we're equal, aren't we? So we should have an equal dose of reality. And some of these ladies are pushing back against that pretty hard. And they have to do the mental gymnastics to even remotely fool people that they're making sense.
Okay, so you have no desire to improve the world and to be like an advocate for change and progression.
It would be nice, but I don't expect it.
See, and for me, one of my favorite quotes is, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And you can call me a dreamer.
They're the ones who do not.
I mean, historically, you're wrong.
I don't think so.
Martin Luther King had a dream, didn't he?
Okay, but how many guys tried to be Martin?
How's that going? How is that going in 2020? I don't know about that dream. I mean, it's a great thought, and it seemed like we were kind of there in the 90s. But just because you have like an aspiration doesn't mean it's real.
Martin Luther King and failed. I'm not
Right.
saying there
And
aren't people,
that's a
but
societal issue because we resist progression, and you're one of the people who is allowing society to resist progression instead of allowing progression to happen.
how am
Instead
I
of
allowing society to? What does that even mean?
Exactly.
yeah, so
what does it mean?
you
Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead. It's fine.
yeah, because you say, I see the reality right now and I report on the reality right now. And when I say, yeah, we should recognize what's happening now and improve on it, you say, oh, men are dying in the workplace. And I'm like, okay, let's address that. Let's see why they're doing that. Let's see how we can improve on that. And then you're like, yeah, that's not realistic. I live in reality. Where you see how I am advocating for progression. I'm advocating for improvement.
No, you're not. You're just saying it should be better. Make it better. Somebody else should do that. That's not advocating. Like, okay, lady, how are we going to make working on an oil rig safer? How are we going to make roofing safer? What about climbing up and repairing power lines? What about crab fishing? What about like, okay, how are we going to do that? No, she just says, make it so. It should be this way. And she's mad that Pearl won't join in to this delusion of just like you're, as if you're Glinda, the good witch, just wave your magic wand and make it so. And she's mad that Pearl doesn't want to wave the magic wand. Because Pearl lives in reality, as do the men.
Where you're just like, yeah, you know what? That's not the world we live in. And I don't have any idea or any desire to improve on the shitty statistics that I constantly report on.
Yeah, so I think that sounds nice, but again, it doesn't change the reality of the situation. So you saying something on a podcast doesn't change the amount of men that die every year in a crab fishing boat.
Right.
But what I like to do is be as accurate as I possibly can. And that is why I say that women do not do as useful or as needed jobs in society as men do. If men's jobs disappeared tomorrow, society would crumble.
Yes. No doubt about that.
If women's jobs disappeared tomorrow, society would be fine.
She's right. I think that we have a lot of made up jobs that we don't need, like HR. Nobody needed HR before HR happened. And there's actually a TikTok. Oh, who covered it? Somebody in the manosphere covered it, of this woman who was fired from Lowe's for hanky-panky harassment. And she's crying in her car. And it's like, lady, this is just, you created this world. And she's like, but I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. It wasn't suggestive of any description. There's Lola. That's how she throws a tantrum, messing with her bed, scratching on her bed. Anyways, she's just going to do that for your entertainment. Yeah, you're not going to lay there and be cute. You're just going to mess with the bed. Anyway, so she's complaining and crying that she was fired from Lowe's because this younger person, took her to HR and said, I'm offended. And she said it wasn't even suggestive. And she kind of shared what she said, but I don't think she's telling the whole story. I think she told part of what she said. And hey, you're shaking the camera. Bless you. I think she told part of what she said and then just left off part of it because she wanted to be the victim. And she's also like, and I'm a single mom and I'm not getting child support right now. Yeah. Welcome to the man's world. We wanted to be in it. This Delulu lady, she's not in it. But a lot of the women are really facing the reality now. And they have to be asking themselves, wait a second, is this what we wanted? As soon as they get over the fact that they think they're victims. But I don't know when that'll happen. Seems to be baked into us. But anyway, we're going to cover the next part of this debate in another video. I'm not sure if it'll be the next video, but it'll be soon. Anyway, because it's just really good. And she cooks her. I don't know if the lady knows that she got cooked, but it doesn't matter because we do. Anyways, you guys, protect your peace. Feed your souls. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.